just like all of the lane races, because this starts out as a lane race. Top 2 teams across the line will automatically qualify in the next 3 fastest times. There's the other Dwight in the stadium, Dwight St. Hilaire, who will run leadoff for the Wildcats.
For the Texas Longhorns, it'll be John Moss, and Jonathan Jones will be getting that baton second. Outstanding 4x4 teams for Texas and Kentucky. Dwight St. Hilaire to Lance Lang, the 200-meter specialist, to Kennedy Leitner. They'll finish with Brian Faust.
Leadoff runner will stay in their lanes all the way around, hand off, and the outgoing runner will stay in their lane through the first full turn and then break for the pole on the back stretch. Final race potentially for Dwight St. Hilaire of his collegiate career, unless he can help get his Kentucky Wildcats into that final. They did run 2:59.93 at the SEC meet a month ago. But right now it is looking like Alabama in the lead with Leander Forbes on leadoff for the Crimson Tide.
LSU running well there out of lane 3. And that's Sean Squirrel after the 400-meter hurdles. He'll take the baton and he'll try to chase down the Alabama Crimson Tide runner there on the outside.
Demetrius Jackson for Alabama. It was a 45-8 leadoff for Leander Forbes, and Alabama with a good lead early on, but that is likely to change.
And here comes Jonathan Jones in 3rd position right now. He's just so explosive in that 400 meters.
Oh, and here comes Squirrel from LSU.
That 400 hurdle strength puts LSU into the lead. Texas passes second, Penn State, then Alabama. So Alabama went from first with a huge lead to 4th from Demetrius Jackson. Tough leg for him.
That's Willington Wright from Texas taking the lead now. Aaron Smith of LSU handling the 3rd leg.
And for Kentucky, Kennedy Leitner. Alabama trying to get themselves back in it with Cordy Long, their intermediate hurdler, who just failed to make that 400-meter hurdle final. So Texas is going to pass first. Alabama now on Long, back into second. Texas, Alabama, LSU, and it's Iowa there in 4th. 44-34 for Texas's Willington Wright. And Cordy Long, 44-44. The intermediate hurler's got some speed.
Well, it's so important for those teams in 3rd, 4th, 5th position to continue to run hard, continue to give everything you absolutely can and try to get in on a time qualifier.
Caleb McRae for Alabama chasing down Brian Huron of Texas. They are going to automatically qualify by finishing 1st and 2nd. Texas wins it over Alabama. 3rd may have been Kentucky, but they've got to hope that they've run fast enough to get through on time. School record for Texas at 3:31 with a 44.72 anchor from Brian Herron. 3:42 for Bama. And LSU in 3rd at 3:01.67, just 100th in front of Kentucky.
In a semifinal, you go a whole entire season. A couple years ago, one team all season long would run 3 flat or dip under, and it was Florida. But now look at these teams, 3 flat for these guys in the semifinal.
Oh, yeah. You know what? That's why they always call the 4x400 the showstopper race. There's going to be guys that show up, and they're just better relay runners. They get that baton in the hand, they become a different person. So when we see 2, 3 flats in the semifinals, that lets you know that the rest of these heats are going to put something special down as well.
School records for both Texas and Alabama, who finished 1st and 2nd. They're automatically through to Friday's final. LSU and Kentucky got to stand by and setting up heat number 2. We've already seen a couple 3 flats and some mid 3:01s. And this heat features in lane 8 the Aggies from Texas A&M with a season best of 3:01.51. And down in lane 5 for North Carolina A&T, they have run 3:01.59 this year. Ashton Schwartz will lead off for the Aggies.
And North Carolina A&T, they're just living by the next man up philosophy. Certainly we're going to see Randolph Ross. Raheem Hales will lead off. Yvonne Reed will run third, and Shamar Chambers. It's interesting, a couple of those guys we've never even heard of, but at North Carolina A&T, the 400 meters is a point of pride, and the next man up.
So there is the leadoff, Raheem Hales. They will start out in lane 5. There are the lane assignments. Florida State has a quartet in here. Their team title took a little bit of a hit when Adrian Wildschut finished down the scores from the 10,000, finishing 7th, I should say. Georgia's run 3:02 this year. They will enter Elijah Godwin. So North Carolina A&T in 5, Texas A&M in 8. Ashton Schwartz for the Aggies, Raheem Hales for the North Carolina Aggies. It's Aggie versus Aggie. On paper, the two best teams in this semifinal heat.
Well, I guarantee you there was a discussion between the coaches and these athletes. You've got to get out and try to get one of those top two positions. 3 flat by 2 teams in the first heat. That changes things. That changes the way these athletes are really going to approach it. You're more than just going for a win in this heat. You have got to finish these races if you have any chance of getting into the finals.
A&T is going to pass first, and Randolph Ross changes hands with the baton, and he is out and gone.
And I think the only chance of North Carolina A&T getting through is for Randolph Ross to put up a big lead, give them some kind of a cushion.
45-2 for Raheem Hales at A&T. And A&M is right there for them at Shavani Hansen. And then a nice separation back to 3rd and 4th. As FSU Florida State making a move to get into 3rd.
That's a good run by Sean Watkins and the Seminole squad there.
I mean, look at Randolph Ross putting them in position, just like you said. Give them a big lead. That's their best opportunity to get through.
Well, Brandon Miller will run the next leg for Texas A&M. He's been a staple on that 4x4 relay the last couple of years as well.
44.8 for Randolph Ross, so not the huge time that they may have needed, but they've got a nice lead right now. Avion Reed on 3rd leg. For A&T, Brandon Miller, who qualified easily in the 800 earlier, now has the stick for A&M.
And look at the strength, look at the speed and the turnover by Brandon Miller. There's so much experience out there, especially at championship events. Fantastic turnover.
So it's the Aggies of A&M that will pass first, and the Aggies of A&T passing second. Anchor legs for A&M. Amajua Atewe, and for A&T, Shamar Chambers. 45.48 for Brandon Miller, and only 47.22 for Avion Reed. But yet they're still in it. Unless they drop the baton or fall down, good chance both of these teams automatically qualify to Friday's final. Texas A&M, North Carolina A&T, 1-2 in the second semifinal of the 4x400 relay. And Georgia's Elijah Godwin runs the Bulldogs into 3rd, but the time's not nearly as impressive as in semifinal number 1. A&M 3:02.49, North Carolina A&T 3:02.73, Georgia 3:03.73. That bodes well for the times from the first semifinal. A&M holding off A&T for the win. And Elijah Godwin closing hard. 44.87 for Godwin on anchor for Georgia, but I'm just not sure they ran fast enough from a time standpoint to get through. In fact, they're already over the bubble. The bubble's 3:01.79. So A&M and A&T are through. No other teams from that heat are going to make it. Which brings us to the third and final semifinal.
Running the fastest times in the country, and if not the world. Nobody cares today what you did in April. It's a different race, and you got to strap it on today.
There are the lane assignments. Florida in 6, Baylor in 8. Howard Fields third, leading off for Baylor. It's another guy for your team, Robert.
Yeah, second Bears.
Along with Brockman.
Baylor's always got something cooking in that 4x4. It's just, you know it when you see it.
Trojans are also in this race. They've run 3:02.20 this year at the regionals, and they got Johnny Blockberger on anchor, who did not qualify for the 400-meter final, so he's got a little something to prove. His dad is now the coach at Long Beach State. Pretty good decathlete in his day, Sheldon Blockberger.
USC will finish with 200-meter specialist Kason James, and then they'll go to Johnny Blockberger. We saw both of those guys on the 4x1 relay bring it home for USC and get into the final.
Pretty even through the first 300. Baylor looks to be making a move here near the end, as is Colorado. Florida passes first, though. And for Florida, this is Ryan Willie. 45-6 leadoff for Ja'Cory Patterson.
Ryan Willie had a great NCAA championships last year, went on to the Olympic trials.
Eric Allen Jr. for the Trojans in second. And Donnie James for the Buckeyes in third. Now here comes Baylor back into the mix. Jason Baldridge for the Bears. But it is all Florida, with Ryan Willie looking extremely relaxed as he gets ready to hand off to Jacob Miley.
Yeah, Dwight, those Florida boys ain't playing, but Jason Baldridge on a great leg there for Baylor, showing off that 400-meter hurdle strength.
This is Matthew Moorer for the Bears in second. 44.9 for Jacob Miley, or I should say for Ryan Willie on that second leg for Florida.
And it looks like Arkansas trying to make a little move to get back in this thing as well. This is James Milholland for the Razorbacks. Kason James, the transfer from Florida State. He started out at Sam Houston State. He goes to Florida State. Now he ends up a USC Trojan. Great range from 60 meters up to the 400.
Florida passes first, then USC, then Baylor. For Florida, champion Allison, who had that fantastic 400 semifinal earlier, fastest time of the day. For the Trojans, it's Johnny Blockberger, and for Baylor, Dylan Bedell.
Well, Johnny Blockberger started his collegiate track and field at University of Arizona. Only lasted a year, but at one time he had the fastest NCAA time of the year, and he makes that transfer. USC Trojans were glad to get him, and he has been an absolute workhorse for the Trojans.
A little collision there between Blockberger and Bedell, but here comes champion Allison. They're going to win it. It's a tough fight between Baylor and USC. USC gets the second automatic qualifying position, followed closely by Baylor. Florida strolls a 3:01.30 in the win. USC with 3:02.58 automatically qualifying in second. Baylor is going to run a time not fast enough to get through our calculations. So it looks like all the time qualifiers coming from the first semifinal heat, which was a barn burner.
Well, take a look at this finish. Champion Allison out front, and he knows he has to continue to keep the gas on. Johnny Blockberger gets in a little bit of a scrape. He gets out of balance. He gets out of rhythm. He drops back. He's almost a meter behind, but he composes himself. And it's a sign of a champion is when he could have given up right there. 40 meters from the line, Johnny Blockberger could have said, uh-oh, I'm out of rhythm. Somebody's passing me, but he regained his composure and pushed the shield to get into the finals.
That's why you always finish through the line, not to the line. Baylor made the mistake there, and because of it, it cost them a spot in the final in the 4x4.
There are the advancers to finals. All those little cues came from the very first heat, very first semifinal.